And joining us now with more on the U.S. stance on the Gaza war and Washington's relations with Jerusalem is Aryeh Lightstone, former advisor to U.S. Ambassador to Israel and one of the leading architects behind the Abraham Accords. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So U.S. President Biden really taking the gloves off here. I mean, publicly criticizing Prime Minister Netanyahu. This is a new low in U.S.-Israel relations, isn't it?
I don't think it's the lowest of the lows, but certainly it is a very challenging place. It's even more challenging in knowing that the war is not over, and there's a possibility of an inflamed war in the north with Iran openly and overtly threatening Israel. At this point in time, I don't know if it's the lowest low, but it's certainly the greatest abandonment of Israel by its chief ally, the United States of America.
And it seems that the closer Israel gets to an operation in Rafah, the louder and harsher the Biden administration opposition. What do you make of this? And do you think Biden would really change U.S. policy when it comes to Israel?
Well, I think the clear part is that there was this protester in Dearborn, Michigan, who was screaming death to America, death to Israel, and explaining that America is the most corrupt, horrific country in the world. The press secretary for President Biden was asked to condemn those comments, and she did not. This is the voter that President Biden is conducting his foreign policy based upon, and it should terrify every American.
And, you know, from the Israeli side, will Netanyahu truly risk losing U.S. support and enter Rafah to eliminate Hamas?
There are over 130 hostages. Unfortunately, many of them are not likely alive any longer. And residents of the South who won't return to their homes if Hamas is still in charge of Gaza. Prime Minister Netanyahu is primarily responsible to his own citizens. After that becomes their position of the allies. In this particular case, I don't think there's a lot of gray area. Prime Minister Netanyahu or Benny Gantz or Eisenkot or any member of the Israeli war cabinet is on the moral and ethical right. And the United States of America, led by Joe Biden, here is perumphering on an issue that should be pretty clear-cut.
And, you know, you mentioned the hostages, and there is a deal on the table now. But yet, in looking back, right, every time a deal has been on the table, the U.S. publicly exerts pressure on Israel. You know, first with abstaining from the UN vote, and now Biden's interview calling for a ceasefire with no mention of the hostages. I mean, what do you make of this?
If you were Hamas, why would you negotiate? The United States of America is doing it on your behalf. And when you don't realize that that is what is happening, or maybe they do realize that that is what is happening, how in the world are we going to get a ceasefire? I would like to make a comment. The whole theme of bring them home implies that this is on the Israeli government to be able to bring them home. The concept should be let my people go. The pressure needs to be on Hamas to deliver them. The Israeli government has said yes countless times. Hamas continues to say no, and the Western world is putting pressure on Israel. It's a perverse moral judgment.
And, you know, so looking at the Biden administration overall, you know, since the start of the war, relations have been quite lofty, sometimes showing signs of support and then sometimes the opposite. You know, why do you think the Biden administration is acting so, you know, hot and cold? And what is Israel's best course of action, you know, to preserve these relations?
Here's the advantage. Every Israeli loves America, and the vast majority of Americans love Israel. There's right now a political challenge in America where President Biden is not looking at the polling of Americans. He's looking at the polling of a small subset in a state called Michigan and possibly also in Minnesota. And he's making a determination based upon 150 to 250,000 potential voters that he lost anyways based upon the electric vehicle mandates. They just don't realize that. And they're conducting foreign policy based upon trying to win a small sliver of American voters. The U.S.-Israel relationship is strong. The basis is there. The foundation is there, and it will withstand this horrific leadership. The question is, will other people who see this leadership going sideways call it out? I'd like to give special credit to Senator Fetterman and Congressman Torres for consistently doing that from the Democratic side. I can't tell you how many times Republicans were challenged everywhere they went. Do you accept or deny what President Trump did on issue A, B, or C? I don't know how Democrats can walk anywhere in the United States of America and not be asked politely, but not be asked, do you stand on the side of Hamas or do you stand on the side of Israel?
All right, Aryeh Lightstone, thank you so much for your analysis today.
Thank you. Have a great day.